Did you know that out of the millions of people who have ever walked this earth, only 10 were personally guaranteed paradise by the Prophet Muhammad? Peace and blessings be upon him. They were not angels. They were ordinary human beings with weaknesses, inner struggles, and mistakes. Yet their faith was so strong, their sacrifices so complete, that the Prophet himself called out their names, one by one. They are known as Al-Asyarah Al-Mubasysyarūn bil Jannah, the 10 promised paradise. This guarantee was narrated through multiple chains of transmission. Among them is the narration from Abdurrahman ibn Auf. May Allah be pleased with him, that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, Abu Bakr is in paradise, Umar is in paradise, Uthman is in paradise, Ali is in paradise, Talha is in paradise, Zubair is in paradise, Abdurrahman ibn Wf is in paradise, Sa'id ibn Abi Waqqas is in paradise, Sa'id ibn Zayd is in paradise, and Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah is in paradise. Another narration comes from Sa'id ibn Zayd himself, who listed 9 companions and then fell silent. When asked who the 10th was, he quietly replied that it was him, a display of remarkable humility. Scholars have clarified that naming these 10 does not limit the promise of paradise exclusively to them. Other companions also received glad tidings in separate hadiths, such as Khadija bint Khuwaylid, Abdullah ibn Salam, and Akusha ibn Mis. However, these 10 hold a special distinction because they were mentioned together in a single hadith. Now, let us come to know each of them, their virtues, their human side, and the life lessons we can draw from their stories today. Part 2. Abu Bakr al-Siddiq, the greatest companion of all time. If the faith of every Muslim in the entire world were placed on one side of a scale, and the faith of one man on the other, that one man's faith would outweigh them all. That man was Abu Bakr al-Siddiq. Abu Bakr held the highest rank among all the companions. Ibn Umar reported that even during the Prophet's lifetime, the companions already considered Abu Bakr the best among them, followed by Umar, and then Uthman. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, If I were to take a Khalil, an intimate friend, I would have taken Abu Bakr. But he is my brother and my companion. The status of Khalil represents the most intimate bond, one reserved only between a servant and his Lord. When asked who he loved most among men, the Prophet answered without hesitation, Abu Bakr. He also ordered that all doors leading into the Prophet's mosque be sealed, except the door of Abu Bakr, a deeply symbolic honor. Abu Bakr was the first adult male to embrace Islam. He was the companion who accompanied the Prophet in the Cave of Thawr when their lives were under threat. In generosity, none surpassed him. When Umar tried to outdo him by donating half his wealth, Abu Bakr arrived having given everything he owned. When the Prophet asked what he had left for his family, Abu Bakr replied, I have left them Allah and His Messenger. Yet Abu Bakr was also human. His caliphate was remarkably brief, barely 2 years, and nearly all of it was consumed by the wars of apostasy. The episode of Fadak, in which Fatima, the Prophet's daughter, requested her inheritance and Abu Bakr declined based on a hadith, created a painful rift that lasted until Fatima's passing, when the entire Arabian Peninsula was in upheaval and many urged compromise. Abu Bakr stood firm. By Allah, if they were to withhold even a single rope they used to pay to the Messenger of Allah, I would fight them for it. The lesson: leadership is not about being perfect. Leadership is having the courage to make the hard decisions when everyone else hesitates. Part 3. Umar ibn, the leader whom even Satan feared. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, If there were to be a prophet after me, it would have been Umar ibn al-Khattab. A quality of character approaching the level of prophethood, that was Umar. The Prophet described him as a muhaddath, one who receives divine inspiration without prophetic revelation. Allah placed truth upon his tongue and in his heart. This phenomenon is known as the muwafaqat of Umar. On several occasions, Umar's opinions were later confirmed by Quranic revelation, including matters regarding the hijab, the station of Ibrahim, and the treatment of prisoners after the Battle of Badr. Satan himself would not dare walk on a path taken by Umar. This was not mere metaphor. It was an acknowledgement of Umar's spiritual strength that transcended the physical realm. Yet Umar was also extremely strict, particularly with himself. His garments were full of patches. His meals were exceedingly simple. The standards he imposed on his own family were higher than those he set for ordinary citizens. Ali ibn Abi Talib once remarked that Umar burdened himself beyond what the religion demanded one. He dismissed Khalid ibn al-Walid, Islam's greatest military commander, not because Khalid had failed, but because he feared the Muslim community was placing too much reliance on Khalid instead of relying upon Allah. The lesson? The very same strength of character can be both a virtue and a liability. The firmness that united an empire also became a source of friction. Great leadership always comes at a cost, and Umar paid that cost every single day. Part 4. Uthman ibn Affan, the man before whom even angels felt shy. When Abu Bakr came to visit, the Prophet remained in a relaxed posture. When Umar arrived, the same. But when Uthman entered, the Prophet immediately sat upright and straightened his garments. Aisha asked, "Why only for you?" The Prophet replied, "Should I not feel shy before a man whom even the angels feel shy before?" Uthman ibn Affan, known as Dun Narain, the possessor of 2 lights, for he married 2 of the Prophet's daughters, Ruqayya and Kulthum. His generosity was legendary. He single-handedly financed 1/3 of the logistics for the Tabuk expedition and endowed the well of Rama for public use. The Prophet said afterward, "Nothing Uthman does after today shall harm him." His greatest contribution was the standardization of the Quranic text into a single authoritative manuscript, the Uthmani Codex that the Muslim world reads to this day. Yet Uthman's gentleness also became his vulnerability. He was deemed too gentle for the brutal world of politics. He was accused of nepotism for appointing many relatives from the Banu Umayyah to strategic positions. The influence of Marwan ibn al-Hakam grew too strong. He failed to recognize the escalation of conflict that ultimately led to the siege of his own home. He was killed by rebels in his house while reading the Quran. His wife said they killed him, though he used to spend entire nights in devotion with the Quran. The lesson: a gentle heart alone is not enough without the ability to manage conflict, especially when those under your care begin to rebel. Part 5. Ali ibn Abi Talib, the Gate of Knowledge. Too idealistic for his time. At Khaybr, every unit had failed to breach the fortress. The Prophet said, "Tomorrow I shall give this banner to a man who loves Allah and His Messenger, and whom Allah and His Messenger love." The next morning, the banner was given to Ali ibn Ali, the Prophet's cousin and son-in-law, the first child to embrace Islam, the Gate of Knowledge, Bab al-Ilm, the Lion of God on the battlefield. The Prophet told him, "Your position to me is like that of Harun to Musa, except that there shall be no prophet after me at Gahadiyahum." The Prophet declared, "Whoever considers me his Mawla, then Ali is his Mawla." Ali participated in every battle alongside the Prophet except the expedition of Tabuk, but Ali was too idealistic for the world of politics. He lacked the acumen for diplomacy. He hastily dismissed nearly all of Uthman's governors before consolidating his own position, including Muawiyah. The Kharijites turned against him. The Battle of the Camel Siffin Nurawan one conflict followed another. Throughout his 5-year caliphate, he scarcely enjoyed a moment of stability. The lesson? Being the most righteous does not automatically make one the most effective leader. Ali was the ideal leader for a time of peace, but by God's decree, the era he led was one of turmoil. His legacy was not territory, it was principle. Part 6. Talha ibn Ubayd, the hero of Uhud who faltered at the camel. Whoever wishes to see a living martyr walking upon the earth, let him look at Talha. At the Battle of Uhud, when everyone else scattered, Talha remained at the Prophet's side. He turned his own body into a shield. His fingers were he sustained more than 70 wounds. Abu Bakr said that entire day belonged to Talha. The Prophet named him as his neighbor in paradise alongside Zubayr. His generosity was equally renowned. He once sold a plot of land for 700,000 dirhams and distributed the entire amount that very night. Yet the same Talha later pledged allegiance to Ali, only to withdraw it. He joined the Battle of the Camel. Ali reminded him of the Prophet's words. Talha felt deep regret, but the wheels of war had already turned. He was killed, according to some narrations, by an arrow from Marwan ibn al-Hakam, the very man who was supposedly on his own side. The lesson? Heroism in one moment does not guarantee consistency for a lifetime. Physical courage on the battlefield and moral courage in the political arena are 2 very different things. Part 7. Zubair ibn al-Awwam, the loyal defender who realized too late. Every prophet has a Hawari, a devoted disciple. Mahawari is Zubair, a title equivalent to the faithful disciples of Prophet Isa. Peace be upon him. Zubair was the first person to draw a sword in the path of Allah. He fought in every battle. He was the son of the Prophet's aunt. The Prophet named him as his neighbor in paradise alongside Talha. Yet Zubair joined the Battle of the Camel, despite the Prophet having once warned him, "You will fight Ali and you will be in the wrong." When Ali reminded him of this on the battlefield, Zubayr fell silent. He acknowledged the truth, and he chose to withdraw. To Fabu, that realization came too late. On his way home, he was stabbed from behind by Umar ibn Jirmus while he was praying. When Ali saw Zubair's sword, he wept. A sword that shielded the face of the Messenger of Allah on so many occasions. Old text: Zubair's wealth at the time of his death was also immense debts, amounting to 2 million dirhams and properties across multiple cities. The lesson: good people can lose their way when swept up by forces greater than themselves. Our most consequential decisions are often shaped by the company we keep. Part 8. Abdurrahman ibn Auf, the merchant who wept while eating. When he emigrated to Medina, Abdurrahman ibn Auf left behind everything he owned. When his Ansari brother offered him half of his wealth, Abdurrahman declined and simply said, "Just show me where the marketplace is." Starting from nothing, he became one of the wealthiest merchants in all of Medina. The Prophet called him a man who was trusted both in the heavens and on the earth. The Prophet once prayed behind him, serving as his follower in prayer, an extraordinary honor. Aisha prayed that he would drink from the spring of Salsabil in paradise. He once donated an entire trade caravan of 700 camels along with all their goods. Yet Abdurrahman would often weep whenever fine food was placed before him. He said, "I fear that my wealth may delay me from joining my companions in the hereafter." In the consultative council for selecting the next caliph, his role proved decisive in Uthman's appointment. Yet toward the end of his life, his relationship with Uthman deteriorated. A profound irony. The very person most responsible for Uthman's rise ultimately grew disillusioned with the outcome. The lesson: the greatest trial is not poverty, it is wealth. Knowing what is right, feeling the unease in your heart, yet not being fully able to live up to it, that is a profoundly human struggle. Part 9. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, the archer whose prayers were always answered. The Prophet prayed for Sa'd, "O Allah, make his aim true and make his supplications answered." From that day forward, Sa'd became the finest archer, and the man whose prayers were most readily accepted. Other companions were even cautious not to be on the wrong end of his supplication. At the Battle of Uhud, the Prophet said to him, "Shoot your arrows. May my father and mother be sacrificed for you." The expression Fidika Abi wa Umay was one the Prophet never uttered for anyone else. Sa'd was also the Prophet's maternal uncle through the Banu Zora clan, and the first person to release an arrow in the cause of Allah. The pinnacle of his career was commanding the Battle of Qadisiyah, which brought down the mighty Sasanian Persian Empire. But as governor of Kufa, the locals complained. Umar relieved him of the post. Administration was simply not his strength. During the Great Tribulation, Sa'd chose neutrality, siding with neither Ali nor Muawiyah. Was this wisdom or avoidance? That remains a matter of debate. The lesson: a person may excel brilliantly in one field yet not necessarily in another. Competence in warfare does not automatically translate into competence in governance. Part 10. Sa'id ibn Zayd, the seeker of truth, who chose silence. His father, Zayd ibn Amr ibn Nufail, rejected idol worship before Islam even arrived. The Prophet said of him, "He will be raised on the day of judgment as a community unto himself." Sa'd inherited that spirit of monotheism. He embraced Islam very early, even before his brother-in-law Umar, in fact. Umar's own conversion is closely linked to Sa'd and his wife Fatima bint al-Khattab, who were reciting Surah Taha when Umar arrived in a fury. Yet Sa'd was the most quiet of the 10. He never served as governor. He never led a major expedition. He was not part of the consultative council. He was absent from Badr due to a scouting mission. He narrated only about 48 hadiths. He passed away around 671 CE, a long life without a public contribution proportional to his standing. So why was he guaranteed paradise? Perhaps because Allah's criteria for judging people do not always align with the criteria of historians. There are virtues that go unrecorded in books, yet remain recorded with Allah. The lesson: personal goodness must still be complemented by active contribution to the community. And sometimes, silence is not golden, it is negligence. Part 11. Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, the trustee of the Ummah who died alongside his troops, when a delegation from Nahhan requested someone truly trustworthy. The Prophet stood and pointed to one man, Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah. Every nation has a trustee. The trustee of this nation is Abu Ubaidah. This hadith is authenticated in both Bukhari and Muslim. Otete Sakifah. Abu Bakr proposed that the community pledge allegiance to either Abu Ubaidah or Umar. Abuda declined. "I could not possibly lead in the presence of the man whom the Prophet appointed to lead the prayer." Umar later declared that had Abu Ubaidah still been alive, he would have named him as caliph. At the Battle of Badr, Abu Ubaidah found himself face to face with his own father fighting on the enemy's side, and he did not retreat. The verse in Surah Al-Mujadilah 58:22 was revealed in connection with this event. As commander in Greater Syria, he conquered Damascus, Homs, and the entire Levant. Yet militarily, he could never fully step out of the shadow of Khalid ibn Walid's brilliance. Abu Ubaidah was obedient to a fault, reliable, yet lacking an independent initiative. When the plague of Amwa struck, Umar urged him to leave and save himself. Abu Ubaidah refused, choosing to remain with his soldiers. He died of the plague, a leader who would not abandon his people. Noble in every moral sense, yet the leadership vacuum he left behind was immense. The lesson: trustworthiness and sincerity are among the highest virtues, but excellence in one dimension of character still requires other dimensions for a truly complete and lasting impact. 10 names? 10 life lessons? Their virtues were extraordinary, yet every one of them was an ordinary human being, with weaknesses, inner struggles, and difficult moments. And that is precisely where the greatest lesson lies. The promise of paradise was not given to perfect human beings, but to those who strove sincerely in the path of Allah despite all their limitations. Abu Bakr taught us courage in moments of crisis. Umar taught us that firmness comes at a price. Uthman reminded us that gentleness alone is not enough. Ali showed us that being right does not always mean prevailing in politics. Talha and Zubair demonstrated that heroism does not guarantee consistency. Abdurrahman revealed the eternal struggle between this world and the next. Saad proved that competence in one area cannot simply be transferred to another. Said reminded us that silence is not always golden. And Abu Ubaidah showed us that even trustworthiness needs to be accompanied by other qualities. May we take wisdom from each of their lives. May Allah have mercy upon them all. And may we be counted among those who strive sincerely in His path. If this video was beneficial, please share it with your family and friends. Hit the like button and subscribe so that we can continue producing content like this. For a more in-depth discussion, complete with scientific references, read the full article on Medium Islam Digital Nusantara. The link is in the description. And if you would like to learn more about Islam and science within a warm community, join us on the Telegram group Belajar 12 Jam. The link is also in the description.